Hey everyone, welcome back to Thinkiverse Podcast, unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating topics from all around the world. I'm Ryan Lamas, and I'm here with the brilliant Rona Escalato. Today, we're tackling belly fat and the ketogenic diet, specifically diving into a YouTube video by Dr. Berg with his 5 tips for burning belly fat, quote, extremely fast. Now, I gotta admit, that sounds a bit like clickbait. But even if the title's a tad over the top, there might be some interesting science in there worth exploring. You ready to dissect this with me?
Absolutely. Let's see if these rapid fat-burning claims hold up to scrutiny.
All right, so Dr. Berg's core argument is that the keto diet's main goal is to lower your insulin levels, which he says is the key to maximizing fat burning. And hitting that coveted state of ketosis, he even simplifies the whole macro tracking thing, suggesting you mainly focus on keeping carbs under 20 grams and protein portions around the size of your palm.
That's a pretty simplified approach to a complex topic. While it's true that low insulin levels can shift your body towards burning fat for energy, it's not quite as straightforward as he makes it sound. The science of insulin and fat metabolism is intricate, and there's a lot of individual variation in how people respond to different diets.
He kicks things off with tip number 1. Eating a mountain of leafy greens, like 7 cups of salad a day. He even suggests using a salad cutter to make it more manageable. 7 cups, that's a whole lot of salad.
It is a lot, but the emphasis on low-carb, high-fiber veggies, like leafy greens, isn't without merit. They're excellent for gut health. And that fiber can indeed help regulate insulin levels, preventing those drastic spikes that can work against fat burning.
That makes sense. But is there a point of diminishing returns with all that salad? Could you overdo it?
There's definitely a limit to how much anyone can realistically or even healthily consume. Plus, there are other important aspects of the keto diet that he kind of glosses over, like electrolyte balance. Leafy greens do provide some electrolytes, like potassium and magnesium, but it's crucial to pay attention to your overall intake, especially on keto.
He does mention getting enough electrolytes, but he doesn't go into much detail. What happens if you're not getting enough on keto?
Electrolyte imbalances can lead to all sorts of issues, from fatigue and muscle cramps to more serious complications. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium are particularly important on a keto diet because you lose more of them through urination when your body shifts into ketosis.
Okay, so maybe 7 cups of salad isn't the only answer here. Let's move on to his protein advice, which I found a bit surprising. He suggests focusing on fattier protein sources, even going as far as comparing a fatty hamburger to a lean chicken breast.
That's because fatty protein sources are less likely to trigger a rapid rise in insulin compared to lean protein. Remember, the core idea here is to keep those insulin levels low and steady.
So it's not just about the amount of protein, but the type of protein you're eating.
Exactly. Fattier protein sources can also contribute to feeling fuller and more satisfied, which can be a big help when you're trying to manage your calorie intake.
That brings us to his 3rd tip, which might raise some eyebrows: increasing fat intake, especially when you're first starting keto. He claims this makes intermittent fasting easier and helps with appetite control.
Fat does play a role in satiety and can definitely make the transition to keto smoother. It provides sustained energy and helps curb those intense cravings you might experience when cutting carbs drastically.
So there's some logic to it. But could you overdo it with the fat? Wouldn't that hinder weight loss?
That's the balancing act. Fat is calorie dense, so while it's essential on keto, going overboard, especially for those with the slower metabolisms, could work against your weight loss goals.
It seems like there's a lot of nuance here. You really have to pay attention to your individual needs and responses.
Absolutely, and that's where things like tracking your food intake and working with a knowledgeable healthcare provider can be incredibly helpful.
Okay, let's move on to his next point, which is all about combining keto with intermittent fasting. He talks about getting deeper into ketosis and burning more fat this way.
Intermittent fasting has become incredibly popular, and there's growing evidence for its potential benefits for weight management and metabolic health. By cycling between periods of eating and fasting, you're essentially giving your body a chance to deplete its glycogen stores and switch to burning fat for fuel.
So it's like supercharging the fat-burning effect of keto. But aren't there different ways to do intermittent fasting?
There are. Some popular methods include time-restricted feeding, like the 168 method, where you fast for 16 hours and have an 8-hour eating window. There's also the 5.2 approach, where you eat normally for 5 days and restrict calories for 2 non-consecutive days.
Wow, so there's a lot of variety. How do you know which approach is right for you?
It depends on your individual preferences, lifestyle, and health goals. Some people find time-restricted feeding easier to integrate into their daily routine, while others prefer the flexibility of calorie restriction on certain days.
It sounds like experimenting and finding what works best for your body is key.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You have to listen to your body's cues and adjust accordingly.
Then he drops this tip that sounds almost too simple. Don't eat if you're not hungry. I mean, that seems pretty obvious, right?
It does, but it's a powerful reminder to tune into our body's natural hunger signals. We often eat out of habit, boredom, or emotional triggers, rather than true physical. We've all been there. And that's why cultivating that awareness of our internal cues can be so transformative.
This is already giving me a lot to think about. We'll be right back after a quick break. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Thinkiverse Podcast. For more deep dives into fascinating topics, we'll have even more insights on belly-fat keto and Dr. Berg's advice when we return.
Sounds good. It's interesting how Dr. Berg connects increasing fat intake to intermittent fasting. He suggests that the extra fat helps people adapt to a fasting routine.
He emphasizes that the initial goal of keto isn't necessarily immediate weight loss, but rather reaching a deeper state of ketosis. He seems to believe that by combining keto with intermittent fasting, you can really boost fat burning.
Some scientific backing to that idea. When you fast, your insulin levels drop, and your body starts tapping into those fat stores for energy. Combining that with a ketogenic diet, which is already primed for fat burning, could potentially amplify those effects.
But wouldn't loading up on fat, especially if you're not used to eating that way, be risky?
Absolutely. It's about finding a balance. Even healthy fats can lead to weight gain if you consume too much. Fat is calorie dense. And Dr. Berg does acknowledge this later in the video. He says once you've adapted to keto and your appetite has decreased, you can start coming back on the added fats.
He makes a good point when he says don't eat if you're not hungry. It's a simple reminder to listen to our bodies.
Exactly. It's about tuning into your body's natural hunger and fullness cues. This goes against the traditional dieting mindset of eating at set times regardless of whether you're actually hungry.
It makes sense if you're constantly eating. Even if it's healthy food, you're keeping your insulin levels elevated, which can hinder fat burning.
That's the principle behind intermittent fasting. By giving your body a break from digestion, you allow insulin levels to drop, creating a more favorable environment for fat burning.
What about nutrient deficiencies? If you're eating less often, are you still getting everything you need?
That's a valid concern, and Dr. Berg addresses it. He stresses the importance of nutrient-dense foods in your meals, particularly on a keto diet. He mentions things like leafy greens, which we discussed earlier, as well as nutritional yeast and sea salt for electrolytes.
He specifically talks about the importance of electrolytes on keto. He even mentions that if you're not consuming enough sea salt, you might feel weak.
Electrolytes are crucial for many bodily functions, including muscle contraction and nerve function. On a ketogenic diet, your body excretes more electrolytes, so replenishing them is essential.
He makes an interesting point about how if you're having a large salad with your meal, you might not need as many additional electrolytes because you're getting some from the vegetables.
That's logical. Leafy greens are a good source of potassium and magnesium, which are two key electrolytes.
Now, for anyone thinking, keto sounds great, but I could never give up my favorite treats, Dr. Berg has something to say about that.
He does. He actually encourages incorporating healthy treats into your keto plan.
He talks about things like low-carb chocolate and even keto desserts. He emphasizes enjoying the process and making it sustainable.
I appreciate that he addresses this. Sustainability is key to any long-term dietary change. If you're constantly feeling deprived, you're much less likely to stick with it.
He even provides a link to some of his favorite keto dessert recipes. We haven't personally tried those recipes. But it's great that he's giving people options.
It's all about finding ways to make healthy eating enjoyable.
He finishes with what I think is one of the most important messages of the whole video. You don't lose weight to get healthy. You have to get healthy to lose weight.
That's a powerful statement. It reframes the whole concept of weight loss. It's not about punishing yourself or restricting yourself to reach a certain size. It's about taking care of your body and making choices that support your overall health and well-being.
He emphasizes focusing on the healthy version of keto, which involves prioritizing nutrient-dense foods, listening to your body, and making it a sustainable lifestyle change.
It's not just about dropping pounds quickly. It's about creating a healthy relationship with food and with your body.
So there you have it. Dr. Berg's 5 key tips for burning belly fat. along with some of our own thoughts and insights.
Remember, though, this is just one perspective. There are many different approaches to health and weight management.
And it's crucial to consult with your healthcare providers before making any significant changes to your diet or lifestyle.
They can help you determine what's right for you, based on your individual needs and health history.
Beyond the specific tips, I think the takeaway message is the importance of a holistic approach to health. It's not just about the number on the scale.
Exactly. It's about nourishing your body, moving your body, managing stress, getting enough sleep. All of these factors play a role in overall health and well-being.
And you know what? It's okay to enjoy the process. Dr. Berg even encourages it. Find healthy foods that you love. Find ways to move your body that bring you joy. And don't be afraid to treat yourself every now and then.
It's about making sustainable changes that you can stick with for the long haul.
We've covered a lot of ground here, and I know we've thrown a lot of information your way. What stands out to you so far?
It's fascinating how he ties together so many different aspects of health and weight loss, the emphasis on nutrient density, the strategic use of fat, the power of intermittent fasting, and the importance of listening to your body.
I'm really intrigued by the concept of intuitive eating. Seems like such a different mindset than traditional dieting.
It is. It's about shifting away from external rules and restrictions and tuning into your body's internal wisdom.
I'm curious, have you experimented with intuitive eating at all?
I have, and it's definitely a journey. It takes practice to reconnect with those hunger and fullness cues and to learn to trust your body's signals.
That makes sense. It's probably not something that happens overnight.
It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, and it can be incredibly empowering.
We've got to wrap up this part of our deep dive. But we'll continue exploring Dr. Berg's advice and the science behind it in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Thinkiverse Podcast. We're continuing our deep dive into Dr. Berg's 5 tips for burning belly fat. And I have to say, this has sparked some serious food for thought.
It has. There's some interesting concepts at play here, even if his delivery might be a bit oversimplified at times.
Exactly. He presents these 5 tips as a roadmap to rapid belly fat loss, even encouraging viewers to jump in and get started right away. But then he also says, if something's working, don't change anything. And follows that up with, if something's not working, then you need to change something.
That does seem a bit contradictory. On the one hand, he's implying that his method is a one-size-fits-all solution, but then he acknowledges that individual results may vary. It highlights the importance of critical thinking and recognizing that what works for one person might not work for another.
He does link to other videos on his channel that address specific issues, like plateaus and troubleshooting. But it raises the question of whether his initial presentation is overly simplistic.
It's important to remember that weight loss and metabolic health are complex and influenced by a wide range of factors, from genetics and hormones to lifestyle choices and underlying health conditions.
Right, there's no magic bullet. And approaching any dietary changes with a critical and informed mindset is key. That's what we try to do here at Thinkiverse Podcast, give you the knowledge and tools to make informed decisions about your health and well-being.
Absolutely. It's about empowering you to do your own research, consult with healthcare professionals, and experiment to find what truly works best for you.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Berg's 5 tips for burning belly fat, I want to leave you with this thought. Beyond the specific dietary strategies, what are some small but impactful changes you can make today to prioritize your health and well-being? What resonated with you from our discussion?
Maybe it's incorporating more leafy greens into your meals, experimenting with intermittent fasting, or simply being more mindful of your hunger cues. It could even be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to de-stress and relax.
Whatever it is, remember that even small steps can lead to significant results over time. And, hey, if you found this deep dive helpful, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights and experiences in the comments below.
We always appreciate hearing from our listeners. And if you want more deep dives into fascinating topics like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to Thinkiverse Podcast on YouTube.
We're unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. We'll see you next time.